left, and I felt no power over my situation or control. So I think that was the reason why I wanted to become a lawyer, was to empower other people to kind of take back their own control of their lives, and to make sure that, people got a second chance to get on with it. So if they got in trouble with the law, they would get another chance to move through their life. Or if they got injured in an accident, that they didn't have to play the role of a victim. They can actually use that compensation to move themselves back on a different track and take control.
You're listening to the Legal Mastermind Podcast with your hosts Ryan Klein and Chase Williams, the go-to podcast for learning from the experts in the legal community about effective ways to grow and manage your law firm.
Welcome to another episode of Legal Mastermind Podcast. As always, my co-host Chase Williams, and today we have Mr. Bill Umansky, Umansky Law Firm. Where do I even start with you, Bill? You started up the Lawman's Lounge. You've always been committed and dedicated to your community with second chances, of course, with your law firm practice. Welcome to the podcast. We're glad to have you.
Oh, thanks, Ryan. Thanks, Chase. Hey, Chase, you there?
Ryan's taking over. I do the intros usually. I want to reaffirm what Ryan just said. This is a very, very special episode. So those of you that don't know Bill Umansky, you will know him now. I mean, most people know him. Most business owners, most lawyers in the Central Florida area know this guy. He is one of the most creative lawyers, one of the most daring lawyers that I work with and that I've seen. So this is a very special episode. And Ryan worked in-house as a director of marketing at the Umansky Law Firm quite some time ago. So I know that it's really an honor to have both of these guys speaking to one another today. And I'm sure that I think the biggest takeaway today was we're going to learn about how Bill really gets his hands dirty, how he gets his firm and his own personal brand known through good deeds, through sponsorships, through networking and groups in the general Orlando area.
No, that sounds like a good topic to talk about, considering I'm a wretch and a sinner. So
yeah, but that's the side of you. We're not talking about the lawman. We're talking about Bill Umansky. We're talking about the humanitarian, the philanthropist, the one that puts on great events for the Notary OCBA and really gives back to the community. So that being said, let our listeners know a little bit about your background. Not starting from too far back, but
when I was 12 years old, I got kicked out. Okay, I can't do that.
You went too far back. So from the community standpoint, I don't know if you necessarily want to, say that you kind of position yourself always. And there's one thing that stood out to me that I don't know if you want to mention this, but you always said that you wanted to be a big fish in a small pond. That's something that stood out to me. And I don't know if you look at it that way, but maybe that's kind of some things that kind of happened over time. So
that's so funny, dude, because I think I've evolved from that now.
I know that you have. That's why I remember you saying that.
I remember growing up and feeling like my family was a broken home, and I felt kind of powerless to change any of that. So there was a part of me then that was able, I went to school, had lots of friends, and then, my mother moved us out of the neighborhood after my dad left, and I felt no power over my situation or control. So I think that was the reason why I wanted to become a lawyer, was to empower other people to kind of take back their own control of their lives, and to make sure that, people got a second chance to get on with it. So if they got in trouble with the law, they would get another chance to move through their life. Or if they got injured in an accident, that they didn't have to play the role of a victim. They can actually use that compensation to move themselves back on a different track and take control of everything. So I became a lawyer, 28 years ago, was a prosecutor, and then did defense work and worked for a personal injury firm, and started my own firm without having any background in business or marketing or any of that stuff, which, obviously had to pay the price for not having that legit background that you guys did in finance or anything. So I had to figure out how to get clients. And one of the ways to do that was, if you're empowering other people in your business, that kind of goes into your personal life, is you want to empower other people. So serving on committees, legal organizations, charities, any opportunity to help people regain the power that I felt I lost as a child was a driving factor for me. And actually back then, I probably wanted to be a big fish in a small pond. And I laugh at that, because really that was all ego-based, ego-driven, and really was a pathetic version of who I am today, which is still crazy. Sinner, wretch.
I feel bad I even said that. So going back to the Salad days, I've seen, pictures of you and Zara out in Colonial Town, I guess, back in the day, going to Wally's and staying out there till 5 a.m. At what point did you really start getting involved in the community? Was there kind of like a turning point, or was there anything like in your involvement where you're like, I'm going to start giving back? Was it pro bono? Was it just the circles you were with?
That's a great question, because when I first started criminal practice, before I started doing PI, I was really intent on not giving anything back. I don't think I was thinking about that. I think it was just about, I got to get another case. I got to get another case. I got to get another case. And there are countless times where I'd be out late at night. I've been married, I got a young kid, and I'm out downtown Orlando or in some nightclub or bar or somewhere else I shouldn't be belonging. And, and I was driving to build business, but, and we were successful very, very quickly. But I still felt kind of like empty inside. Like, what am I doing it for? Initially, at the time, I didn't understand my why of practicing law. So it was just me like, I'm not going to fail. I'm not going to be a loser. I'm not going to be like, I don't believe in paradigms where everyone wins. Certainly in relationships and negotiations, it's a win-win. But when you're getting business, if you don't get the business, someone else is going to get it. And they're going to take away from your family and feeding your family, especially when you didn't grow up with much. But all that taking and all that, gnarling and hustling, and I didn't understand that the real reason I did it wasn't just to support my family, but it was to actually help clients empower themselves. And once I started figuring out the why I was doing it, that, and what the real purpose behind my practice was, I kind of figured that this is just not enough. It's not enough to make money being a lawyer, helping people get off their charges or get money in a car accident case. What else can I do out there in the community that provides me these clients, that gives me the opportunity to practice law? I mean, it's a privilege to practice law. You have to earn it, but you have a privilege to make money helping people. So I think that question is answered by, I started getting involved with the Orange County Bar Association. And at first I joined it thinking I was going to get business. And then I realized, no, we're helping other lawyers. We're helping other lawyers try to build their business, helping other lawyers get education for their practices, help other lawyers understand that there's a community of lawyers that can help each other. And that then led to realizing like I can do so much more for other people. And I joined Rotary a long time ago and realized they say service above self. And, being a selfish person from when I was very young to when I got older, I realized like, to get out of your own head, the way to deal with stuff, to empower other people is not to think about yourself and to give. So really, I had to figure out my why in the practice of law. And then once I did that, I realized I still wasn't fulfilled. And I felt like I had to empower other people, give to other people. And by doing so, get out of this head and stop being selfish and being a victim. And since then, I feel like giving is way better than receiving. And especially during this time where there's so much crisis and negativity, you just got to keep giving. It's not even like I'm a good guy. I think I just do it so I don't go insane. But it's a lot more fun to give. It's a lot more fun to do charity work. It's a lot more fun to build people up than tear them down. It's a lot more fun when you're dealing with your competitors not to hate them, which is sometimes hard to do. But
and when you say giving, are you giving money? Are you giving your time? Was it a combination?
Yeah. So first of all, it's time. So if, for instance, I was on the board of legal aid, I was on the board of OCBA, I'm on the board of Central Florida Trial Lawyers Association. Some of these are past board memberships. There's a lot that goes into running a board and doing the activities that are required to serve your members. So time is one thing. Second is money, giving away money for scholarships, raising money for other people, giving money to causes. That's, by the way, not as fulfilling for me, maybe because I'm cheap by nature, but I think giving of your money is important. I think the third thing really is giving leadership. So inspiring other people to do good work, inspiring other people to spread the message. In fact, inspiring people that are actually more equipped than myself to give to other people. I think inspiring other people to give to others. So I think it's time, money, and leadership.
So when it comes to the time, I'm sure we have listeners that are like, this all sounds great, but as a lawyer, lawyers are notorious for having limited amount of time. So anyone that's listening and wants to get involved, how would you advise them on getting involved and finding the right things or organizations to commit to, and how can they organize their time to be able to commit what they have to really have an impact on some of the things you mentioned?
So, my dad always say this. My dad wasn't exactly the greatest father, but I think he taught me the most important lesson is follow your passion, the money will follow. And so whether it's because you're giving without any expectation of return, or whether you're doing something because you're hoping that you can generate business out of it, either way, I would say it's not just, if you follow your passion, money will follow. It's also if you follow your passion, everything kind of works its way around that. Because if you're passionate about a cause, for instance, a charity, you will find time to raise money for that charity, find the kids to give scholarships to, and reach out to community leaders to help raise other scholarships they can provide. So if you're passionate about what you like doing, it comes easier, and you'll make a better effort to do those things that you're passionate about. So my example would be, if you really, really, really like, let's say your issue is children, then don't join, some association that's going to not deal with work that's going to help kids. Join it. Even if it's not something that gives you a direct benefit to your business, people will see that you're passionate about what you're doing. They'll see that you love what you do. They'll see that you're authentic, and they will cling to you, and they will join you, and they'll want to give you business, or they'll want to help you because they see that what you're doing is you're doing it out of love, not for any other reason. Does that make sense? As far as like time, I gave us a talk at OCBA about work-life balance. That's all bullshit. So, you obviously have to spend time with your family, your wife, your significant other, your spouse, your boyfriend, girlfriend, whoever it is that you're going to spend time with. But, if you're really wanting to be a great lawyer, and you also want to give back to your community, and also to be a good father, mother, or parent, something's always going to give. And you could say whatever you want, but one of those three areas will give. Your philanthropy will suffer a hit if you're spending way more time with your family. Your practice may suffer if you're spending way more time giving, charitable giving. It's very hard to balance all of it. And so again, I think it's important to be passionate about what you join and get rid of those things that you're not passionate about, because it's easy for us to say yes to a lot of things, and then we're doing a bunch of shit and our balance is thrown off, and for what? So I don't think I have any balance, but since I love everything I do, yeah, I'm pretty happy. I'm also crazy, but I have energy that feeds itself because I like what I'm doing. So that's the answer, I think.
One of my favorite quotes is, being busy is a decision. And I think that aligns exactly with what you're saying. I always kind of take that to heart when I ask someone for their time and you get the answer, oh, I'm busy. And it's really, you're not busy. You're just not prioritizing what I'm asking you to do. And that might be fine. You might be focusing on your business or your family or some other commitments. But I think taking a step back and really thinking about what, rather than I'm too busy for this, what's your priority going to be?
Priority depends upon, for me, your passion. So I agree with that. I also think, I'm not an organized person. But if I get involved with passionate things that I want to do, and I know that I can't be organized, I then try to make enough money where I can hire people that can keep me organized so that I can continue to do the things that I love doing. So it drives you to actually, you find the right who to help you follow your dreams and follow your passion. So again, if you hate what you're doing, there's no motivation to prioritize anything or do anything. You just, what the fuck? You're just kind of you're just drearing along in life. So prioritize your passions, actually. Can you do that?
So once you prioritize your passion,
yeah.
How long did it take for you to see that trickle down into success for your business?
So so once I stopped thinking about whether I was going to get something out of something, that's when it started to happen. So if I used to go to a networking event or a charity event or a board meeting, I always used to be like, hey, I do criminal work. Hey, I do PI. Hey, hey, send me a case, send me a case, send me a case. People get sick of hearing that shit. So they don't, you got to tell people what you do, but they're really more interested in asking them questions about who they are. And again, being passionate about what you're doing. So if you're on a board, do the work the board requires. There's some boards I'm on now that I'm almost ending up, And I got to admit, this last year on the OCBA, Orange County Bar Association, I kind of slacked off just a little bit because I'm just near my end of doing it. And I usually like to finish strong, but I was president of my Rotary Club this year, which I was more passionate about. And we did 59 projects in the year that I've got 2 more projects, actually. It'll be 59 or 60 in a year. And I realized during that time that I don't ask people in my Rotary Club for business. I just do the work that we're there to serve. They know what I do. And if they believe that you're authentic and they trust you, they'll come to you and they'll ask you questions. And from there, if they have a problem where you can serve them, business comes. So, I don't feel like, if you're asking me when did that happen, I think it happened when I surrendered myself to the point of, I don't need to get the business immediately. I just need to be there for people and the business will follow.
So speaking about the Rotary Club, and you're the president, and obviously you have the passion for that, and you've taken it kind of a step further with some of the events that have been, going on with the Rotary Club. So, one time there was a beer festival out in Avalon Park, and I happened to run into you and Zara with my mom. Do you remember that a few years ago? Yeah. And you put on, and the turnout was great. The community loved it. And then you always do a poker tournament where you are very much able to act like yourself at that and enjoy it. And that has an amazing turnout. So how did you get to the point where not only you are involved in these organizations, but you're also like taking it a step further and even doing events and really, I wouldn't say maybe leveraging, but just maximizing the community involvement of these organizations?
I was never really a good leader. I don't think I really understood what true leadership was, because I always didn't really step up to be a leader of any of the organizations I was on the board. And once I got involved with Rotary, they asked me to be president. I wasn't secretary, I wasn't treasurer, I wasn't anything. And they asked me just to step up because someone had to step up. And I started watching how I operated my firm and leveraging my firm, doing events. Strategic Coach, which is a coaching program, says, it's not the what, it's the who. Who can do the thing for you? And that's how you start creating leverage. So I realized in my business that if I wasn't really good on staying on track of certain things, I needed to hire people that knew how to execute, right? So it's the same thing for events. So for instance, with Rotary, we can just sit around and talk each week and bring in speakers. But when I started my leadership, I sent an Excel spreadsheet around to ask people what were they interested in. And we were told that people were interested in this or that, or, Habitat for Humanity, or raising money for this organization, or a lot of it's circled around drinking. So, and playing poker. So we found people that were very interested. And then if they're interested and passionate about it, seems like it's the same thing that we're talking about before. They're going to lead that project. They're going to be motivated to do that project, and they want to shine because they love what they're doing. So, leveraging everything and turning things into events is to find people that want to do things. So for instance, that beer fest you went into, that had nothing to do with me. The former president, he's really into craft beer. And there's about 5 or 7 of our members that love craft beer. And there's nothing more fun than going to breweries and drinking and asking them to come out for a good cause. So, you get together with people that are passionate. They go to the breweries. They love beer. They have a charity that they want to keep in mind that they're passionate about, and the events come to fruition very easily. So no one person can really do it on their own. You need a team to actually, as you need a team to run your business, and you need a team to run your events and your club. There's just no way one force of personality can do it. Is that your question? Did I answer that or no?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't really know the whole history. I thought that you had to do like a whole debate and a campaign tour and do canvassing around Avalon Park, handing out flyers and banners to get that president role.
Yeah. It's funny. Rotary is a dying organization in the States, but across the world, it was a growing organization. And our club actually increased by 28% this year. And that's something else I learned. Just because an organization is dying, if you really love the stuff it stands for, who cares about general overall Rotary? Like, I care in general, but I have my club members and we give back to our community, because I'd say almost every single person at that club loves what they're doing and loves service above self. So I would just tell any new listeners or new lawyers out there, it's simple. Find stuff you like to do. If you like playing poker, join a poker league. And you like charity, put the two together. Do charity and poker. Find a way to involve yourself in activities that connect with themselves. Find those things that find their way to each other, that have things that you like doing. So we like education and we like lawyers. So I started a foundation that I give scholarships out to a lot of different individuals. But since I like hanging out with lawyers, I decided, look, we're only giving book scholarships out. Let's find legal organizations that give 4-year rides out, and we'll supplement their book scholarships. So we now leverage with other people. We're passionate about education. We're passionate about lawyers. And now we meet other lawyers. We sit on their scholarship committees. They award scholarships. We get to ask questions, and then we get to supplement their scholarships. There's always things that, tie to each other that you can find. There's never an excuse to get into one thing that doesn't have a connection to something else. I don't know if that makes sense, but
I mean, it does. It seems like it comes with just continuous involvement and networking and knowing what's out there and what else you can kind of expand into.
It's in practice for 30 years. I think I would have given up the practice if I didn't find a way to reinvigorate myself like every other week. And doing that by giving to other people is the fastest and quickest way you can do that. For people that are not used to giving, you should just try it, see what it feels like. And especially if you're a selfish person and you're all about the hustle and you're climbing up the corporate ladder, it's just amazing when you take just a second out of your day to help other people, to really genuinely help, to give of your time. And it really doesn't make a difference whether you're packing soaps and handing out soup in a homeless shelter, picking up garbage in your community. Chase is shaking his head no because he doesn't want to get himself dirty. But just because you're too good looking and you're on mute, you're both on mute. None of you are talking.
I don't want to cough or...
I talk too much. Let's edit all
you're good.
out.
This is the format, Bill. This is exactly how it's supposed to be going. But I do have one last question. Maybe Chase has one afterwards. But
I have one.
It definitely goes in line with what you're talking about, reinventing yourself. And I think that's a good segue because really in the past year, as far as what I've seen, maybe 18 months, you've always been one that's like about being who you are, definitely being in the community. And one of the more interesting developments, I guess, of that is that what you've been doing with the Lawman's Lounge. This is a more of a official platform, I guess, of a lot of things that it seems you've been wanting to do for a long time. And a lot of times you're not even talking about law. I mean, you are, but sometimes you're not. Sometimes you're speaking to other lawyers, but sometimes you're kind of just speaking to the community. And this is in a Facebook group and you do a lot of videos. So I guess, how did you arrive at the point where you're like, I'm officially going to develop this with a forum, with videos, with its own podcast? When did you make the decision and why?
Well, I made the decision 10 years ago and I didn't know how to execute anything. And you remember, because I was never an executor. So I think I finally was able, when COVID happened and I had some downtime, I was able to stop putting out content for the law firm. I mean, we still put out content for the law firm, but I was like, I have a bunch of executors here. We need to execute. So we were trying to figure out a concept of like, what can we do that, we came up with the Lawman's Lounge because our concept was the lounge travels. So like we have a limousine, and if we do the podcast in there, it's a lounge. If we go to a bar and we're hanging out with a bunch of people, that's what a lounge is. I mean, basically, I don't like any superficial or bullshit talk. I love sports, but the problem with sports is sometimes that takes you away from real deep intellectual conversations, getting to know people. And so, I like to get to know people and I like to understand what makes them tick. And so we wanted to create a platform that travels. So we're going to do lawman lunches, lunch with the lawman, but it's also going to be the lunch lounge. Everything's going to be a lounge because it's kind of where you get to know people. It's kind of in a speakeasy. You sit down, have a craft cocktail. You spend a lot of money for the drink. Or maybe it's really, really good whiskey or good wine or good bourbon. That's not usually like you're at Casey's downtown in Orlando slamming drinks. You're like, I'm going to take some time nursing this drink.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that either, though, sometimes. No,
there's nothing wrong with that. But if you're sitting there and you're talking to people, you're not really sitting at Casey's downtown and some free-for-all where you're slamming shots, getting to know one another. So if you're sitting in a cocktail lounge or any kind of lounge, that's kind of a place where you're asking questions, getting to know someone, having deep discussions about life, law, whatever. And that was our concept. So we're creating a mastermind that's going to be with lawyers that have that same understanding. And we really, wherever we go, the lounge follows. So we decided to start the concept, about 6 months ago? And we're not going to just add people to it, but we're going to grow it slowly and do everything. We only want people on our show that we enjoy talking to. And, we're not going to try to do the show to impress anyone else, because if you do that, you're not being authentic. We've had some great shows. We had a lot of followers, and then we had a dip. And, the first impulse was like, what did we do wrong? We had the wrong topic. And I'm like, fuck that. Just talk to people, because there'll be people that want a podcast just to hang out and talk. So yeah, the lounge is a cool place to like hang out and get to know people and talk about things that maybe other lawyers might be interested in learning from different perspectives. Because, everyone has a different perspective. Like you had bounced off a quote, Chase. I read a lot of shit and I don't remember one quote. I'm not good with jokes. I don't remember quotes. I can't even, I don't even know. So that's, so by getting guests on who actually are well-read and can remember quotes that people will actually adhere to, that's kind of cool. So, getting different perspective on. I
have that quote on my whiteboard right there. So I just remember it all the time, because that's like one of my biggest issues is just packing my day with stuff. Sometimes it doesn't matter.
Any memorable guest will have one quote though.
Yeah. I should come up with a quote then. How about fuck you?
I will use it. It's simple, and I actually will remember that one.
Actually, really, that would be my only quote. I don't really want to remember anything else. So
to kind of recap for the Lawman's Lounge,
sure.
Through all these other activities you've been doing, that's more to give back to the community. The Lawman's Lounge sounds like this is something you've created to give back to lawyers.
Yeah, mainly lawyers and business people, but we're focused a lot on giving to lawyers. A lot of young lawyers are like texting me or DMing me and going, I went through that same issue. I'm glad I understood that from, their perspective. It's all the guests, not me. So I just try to find people that people are going to be interested in listening to, so that these guys can, and people usually have an agenda when they come on podcasts. So what we try to do is we try to talk to them about something different that they haven't talked about before. So we'll listen to some of their shit and then we'll try to direct them off of it. So we had someone came on the other day. She was going to talk specifically about a certain issue, and I made her do a sales consult and try to close me on the phone. And she did a great job, actually. But, for people that are listening to that, they'll get a lot out of that if they're doing one-on-one consults, because, but that's not something she really wanted to talk about. She had a new product, but I took her back to something that I thought she had never gone through. And to her credit, what's great about the lounge is she rolled with it and said, I've never done that before. Let's just do it. And let's see how it goes out. And if we try to get guests on, that want to talk about the same spiel over and over again, it's not going to be interesting to me. And if I'm not interested and I'm not passionate, then I don't really want to do it. And I'm hoping my listeners will understand that I really want to touch upon areas that they don't need to be sold by my guests. They just need to understand that these are very, very smart people that have successful businesses. And if we can glean one or two things out of people that our listeners will gather, that's awesome.
I think that's the right approach. So Bill, if anyone wants to reach you directly and learn more about how you give back to the community and how you get involved in these certain organizations and associations, do you want them contacting you? If they can, how can they?
Yeah, if anyone wants to contact me, it's bill@thelawman.net, or you can dial me direct on my cell phone, 407-399-7999, or find me on Bill is the Lawman on Instagram or the Lawman's Lounge on Facebook.
Thanks for listening to the Legal Mastermind podcast. If you're interested in working with Ryan and Chase, please email mastermind@marketmymarket.com. Make sure to join the free mastermind group for growing and managing your firm at lawfirmmastermind.com. Ryan Klein and Chase Williams are the managing partners at Market My Market, one of the top legal marketing companies in the United States.